Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's kind of client spotlight, where we're going to be going into deep diving into some of the transformations on Murphy Training, some of their background. Maybe you can pick up a few hidden gems that maybe you could apply for yourself, and kind of their backstories and what worked for them. And maybe you can pick up some tips and tricks that you can apply to your situation. So first of all, we're going to do Harley's transformation. So Harley, there's two pictures of Harley because he's gone away and then came back, and then gone away and come back. So first of all, we're going to go into Harley first, round one, first time he started. So Harley started with me in a lockdown with minimal equipment. He had some dumbbells, some barbells, and that's about it, and a bench, I think, if I remember correctly. So as you can tell, Harley didn't have very little to none training experience, and then he went from there, and this is about, I want to say, about 18 weeks. You can see a lot of improvement. From that, he kind of things we worked on with his minimal approach was a lot of eccentric work and tempo work, really massive emphasis, because he didn't have a lot of heavy weight available. So when you don't have a lot of heavy weight and you're working from home, eccentric work is just a godsend, because it's going to be able to break down the muscle on the slower eccentric phase, basically like the lowering of the weight. And if you really control that, as you can see, you don't need masses of weight, but a really good eccentric control, and you can actually make some very, very, very good gains. So as you can see, really impressive with that one. Weight wise, I don't think he actually changed that whole lot. Like his body weight stayed kind of the same. He went into a fat loss phase and then brought it back up, and I think it ended up being around about the same weight. And as you can tell, some of it is genetical with Harley. He did genetically has more of a predisposition to put on muscle, and he also was a little bit younger, so his food didn't need to go as low, and he was also a beginner, so there's a lot of benefits with that. But as you can tell, he absolutely smashed it during that lockdown. A real focus, and one of my first clients when I first started out. So yeah, that is Harley. Going on to the next one. Harley again, after, you can tell he got a big massive tattoo, which is quite cool. So you can see that this is the second time Harley came around, even bigger again. Then we had access to a gym for the heavier weights, a few new exercises. He actually went up. That's from when, I can't remember when that was. That's original. That's an original picture. He was still down. His weight went up, then up to about 110 kilos, and then came back down to about 98, 97. As you can see, a lot leaner, much more wider, bigger arms. He just had access to a better range of equipment. Kind of things we did was just purely physical development, and his nutrition alongside that. For him, he did a lot of fasting. That just seemed to work for him, and he said he made him less hungry. So he fasted, and he also did morning cardio, and he took that off every morning, and he found that easy going into the summer, ready for his lad's holiday. And he also was able to put on more muscle from last time, having access to more equipment. As you can tell, he did make more improvements, but he did also work harder, and he had some more experiences. So yeah, really well done to that one. That's myself. That was also done in a lockdown. What I kind of did in this kind of phase, from this, I think this is about, I'd say about 12 weeks, I think. So I had access to a barbell, weights, dumbbells, and a bench. I did a lot of hill sprints and high intensity work with that, and a lot of direct core work, a lot of isometric stuff, which I do put in a lot of people's programs, for keeping the core isometrically still, and making sure we're still working the core, even though I don't have access to many cable pulleys or anything like that, which I do like Abcols, but still managed to make a lot of core work involved. And also after coming off a shoulder dislocation as well, several. So yeah, managed to do that during a lockdown as well. Let's see the next one. Jez came from just kind of a crazy work schedule, super busy. Just optimize his training routine and his diet mostly, really. A lot of lack of education with his diet. As much we optimized that and did a kind of a priming phase, kind of fell off. His steps were crazy high naturally, and he's managed to kind of shred down the weight and lose that midsection. Things different to most people's was that his food was kind of a bit sporadic with his timings, just because he had a really crazy night shift schedule, and he did like working during the day and then worked at night as well, so he was working like crazy hours for actually amount of hours that he was actually working. So making sure food was pre-planned and making sure that he was staying accountable to his goals and making sure we get him on that phone call each week was really important. He was also an online client, which is pretty awesome, and he did really well as well. As you can tell, a vast difference. Chris is a firefighter. He just wanted to lose weight and feel a bit more fitter and feel better within himself, and he also wanted to prepare for his holiday. He's actually lost more than this. He's actually 10 kilos down, but we haven't had an update pic. Waiting for his progress pictures to come through. I'm sure if he watches this video, he'll give himself a kick up the arse and get sent across. But Chris has worked really hard. He is someone who's maybe naturally a little bit more food focused than others. So to up and that, his output has to be a little bit more, just because he does struggle with bringing his calories down a little bit. So for him, keeping protein high was not a problem, which is awesome. Some people struggle with that. Keeping his training high in training is not a problem for him. Training at a high intensity is good for him. So we kind of done multiple stages, and he's done really well. And I look forward to his update pictures actually. So this one was last year, I think. But yeah, he done absolutely fantastic. 14 pounds in this one, so a stone down. But like I said, he's actually over 10 kilos down now. He's in the 80 kilo marks. But he done really well. Tracy, superstar client. She has worked in the NHS. She used to do day and night shifts. I think in this one she was still doing that. She came just to optimise her training and get herself some accountability for a holiday. She absolutely smashed it with the macros and the nutrition. Really worked well for her, keeping a step count and just keeping accountable to making sure that we're going through phases of nutrition. She's done really well to keep accountable to that. She still enjoys her social life. She still has time for her husband. She still goes out for social events, and she's done absolutely fantastic preparing for her holiday. Checks in every week on time, everything to a good standard, and she trains really hard as most as well. So yeah, really well done to Tracy on this. Things that she's done different is, I would say, is the accountability, that she's really utilised the accountability in the check-ins, and she's done really well with just staying on top of the check-ins and making sure that she checks in every week on time, and she gets her check-in information, and then she takes everything on board, and she makes sure that she executes everything to the plan. And by doing that, she's had a fantastic job at doing that. So yeah. Tallulah done really well. She also did during the lockdown, but that's a lie. She didn't do it during the lockdown. This was when she was doing her teacher training. and she was struggling for accountability, and she also wanted some optimised her training a little bit and making sure that she was achieving her goals. She wanted to get ready for a holiday in the summer holidays. She didn't always have access to the gym just because she had a bit of a weird schedule, so she did some home workouts, which she does done well, and she had minimal. Like, when I mean minimal, she had nothing. Everything was like body weight, but obviously we still got it done, making sure she stick to a step count and make sure her nutritional plan for her, a meal plan, was a bit more essential. So making sure that we go over set meals for her was a bit more important, and she stuck to it, and that is what worked for her. She did have macros, but she kind of people sometimes fall into a trap of, I can fit this snack in. Yeah, you can fit the snack in, but you have to be more disciplined in the evening when you don't have to have a proper evening meal. So take that on board. If you are fitting snacks in, make sure that you are willing to think as well, am I willing to sacrifice my evening meal for this? And making sure that it's then getting altered. So always really important to make sure you got your main meals in place, and then just once you get those in place, don't let them be sacrificed, because it's 99.9% of the time it's definitely not worth it. Holly again. Molly 2 stone down. She wanted to get ready for a holiday. She works from home. She done absolutely fantastic. She just wanted to get back in the gym and feel a bit more confident in the gym, which she did. She also wanted some training and structure, and she wanted someone to be held accountable to preparing for a holiday. As you can tell, she absolutely smashed it. Managed to get 2 stone down, which is again absolutely amazing. And she's done absolutely fantastic. So what did she do differently? I would say she was very holistic in her approach. She was very concentrating on if some days she let me know when she's not feeling 100%, we didn't go 100% every single time, and we made sure that she was working within her boundaries set for her. And if she wanted to maybe pull back a little bit on that day, we did do that. Not every week is going to be the best training session, as much as I wish it could say that, and I wish it could be. Some weeks we're going to have to pull back a little bit, and just take it very subjectively. So work stresses, life stresses, relationship stresses, family stresses, work stresses, these sometimes can accumulate, and making sure that we're aware of that, and sometimes we just need to pull back and maybe just get the session done. Maybe it's not to the best standard, but you're getting it done and you're still making the effort and you're being consistent, which is a massive part of it. I was actually reading something the other day saying that consistency is one of the rarest human habits, and people will struggle the most with it. So if you can execute to consistency, you're probably doing better than over 95% of the people, even if it's not to a high standard. It's to maybe a little bit less, you're still doing better than 95% of the people, because they cannot be consistent. So that's something to be considered when coming coming through maybe a little bit of a hard patch, or going through maybe for a couple, maybe you've accumulated a couple bad sessions, and maybe you're not pushed as much harder as much as the last sessions. Just think that 95% of other people maybe not have made it to the gym this week, so you've still done better than most of the population. So that's something to consider. I hope this helps. It's very, very different. Client spotlight wise, some real great success stories, and I hope you took some information on board from what's a little bit different from this. Like I said, loads and loads of people done absolutely fantastic. I wish I could have time to share everyone's story and go into detail with it, but obviously I haven't got all the time. This is just the ones I've just clipped from my Instagram account, and I'll go into more information. If you wanted more information about these, please drop me a message, and if it's something you want to talk about, just drop me a message and we'll go into more detail. Other than that, have a great rest of the day. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will speak to you soon.